Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Export to Layout webinar. My name is Esteban. Happy to be here sharing all this information with everybody today. First things first, let's make sure that in order to use the new tool, we understand that we're going to need to have the latest updated extension and also a SketchUp license or a free trial version in order to be able to access the layout. So very important to understand that in the beginning. Also, during the presentation, we're going to be able to answer any questions you have via the chat. So write them down. The second you think of a question, go ahead and write it down. We have some hosts paneling as well that are going to be we're going to be helping to answer any questions during the presentation. After the presentation, we'll go ahead and answer any leftover questions or any last minute questions that you may have. So that's it, and let's begin.
All right, so let's begin by opening up our 3D file. This is going to be our drawing, our structure. So let's go ahead and open that up. Again, you need the licensed SketchUp or a free trial version to be able to export to layout. Let's begin by opening up the preferences tool icon. This is really the first step we want to do with any drawing. Even in the beginning, to go ahead and make a drawing, we want to make sure that we are fully aware of what the preferences tool icon does. In this case, we're using it to input information so that it can get transferred over to the layout once we generate the export to layout. So again, project name, project description, all of this information that is valuable to the individuals who are part of this project. Layout template, again, if this is empty, you want to make sure to use that drop down arrow to see that the draft layout option is available and make it click on it to have it visually appear. From there, if you want, you can open up that window a little bit bigger to go ahead and input more information. Again, the more information everybody has, the more transparent, the more clear the project is, and therefore essentially it's going to take less time from beginning to end to have a build structure, right? We want to be able to eliminate having to ask too many questions. So if you have everything already in a template, that is the idea, to be able to save time. As far as the information here is very, very basic. Again, right, we have the name, the project number, the person who drew it, the date, client name. This could be the company you work for. And then again, a contact could be you or the individual who's in charge of the particular project. The project manager, again, if you have a contact here at Flexpipe, then it's not a bad idea to include it there. So if anybody ever needed to contact somebody, they know who to reach out to. So that is the preference tool icon. Let's get in the habit of opening that up and filling in that information from there, making sure we save that information. So now what we want to do is, at this point, is that we want to make sure we have a bill of material created. So if you don't have that bill of material, then now would be the moment to go ahead and generate a bill of material in order to be able to have those files available. So if you do have it, then even better. So now what are we trying to do? We're trying to figure out which file we're going to be using. So in this case, we're very familiar with the Excel file. So this is the one that we commonly see. We should be already familiarized with this one. This is all the parts, the cut list, the sequence and how to cut the parts, etc., etc. But for the template, we're looking for the CSV full version. So that is the BOM CSV full. This is the one that we want to be able to essentially drag and drop into our layout template. So if we look in the information here, the preferences tool, again, we want to make sure that we see those two different files available or highlighted, activated, whichever way you want to reference this. But again, this is making sure that we see those available so that when we generate the layout, we can go ahead and now drag and drop that bill of material into our layout. So again, that's it. So with the bill of material generated, then the next thing right now would be really starting out the process, which is export to layout. So once we click on that new tool, which is available in the latest extension, then now we can go ahead and click on that, hit save. We can already see that there's scenes appearing automatically. Those are already set by default. They have already been programmed, which is really what we're trying to do with this template, is help you speed up the process. So we see layout opening up, and then right away we can see our work area with the 2-page presentation plan that we have already made in advance. So the different scenes, as we click on the different scenes here, we can see there's an isometric, there's a front view, there's a right side view, and then there's a top view. So really, these are the ones that we're always using for technical drawings. So depending on what you need, you can resize all those different scenes, all those different scales, all those different sizes. We can always resize those with all the various tools in the default tray. On the right side here of the template, we can see that that's the information that we filled in prior in the when we opened up the preferences tool icon. So again, that's now you understand where that information is coming from. So you can edit it in the preferences tool, or if you wanted to, if you made an error or you needed to add something else, then you can always click on the individual boxes here and double click to now be able to edit the text. From there, on the left portion of this template here, we see the part number and quantity. So this is where we want to go ahead and now utilize as the space to go ahead and drag and drop that BOM CSV full file. So that's the one that we're going to go ahead and click and drag and drop. So just set yourself up so that you can go ahead and have the layout available, opened up, and then you can have that second window open so you can go ahead and just drag and drop. So whichever way that's easier for you. So again, we click, we drag and drop, and we're gonna see once we drop it off in there, we see all the different parts that basically make up that structure you're using, so you're making. So if you use the selection tool, very much like in SketchUp, right? We're gonna select something, you're gonna see it highlighted, and then it's a matter of moving and placing it which in the position you want. With this particular box here, this cell, you can see that there's arrows appearing once you make a selection. So if you hover over those, you'll be able to essentially enlarge that shape in order to make it fit in the space available for the template. So this way it's just nice and visible to be able to really clearly see all the different parts that will make up the structure. So now with the label tool maker, the label tool, we're looking for endpoints in order to be able to click once, have the component definition appear, and then we'll double click to make it appear on the actual layout. So we're just looking for all the different parts. Sometimes if you hover over and you find that you need to click, there is a triangle which you can add more information or look for more information rather. So that little triangle pointing down, if you open that up, we can see different options, and we're looking for the component definition. So if we click on the component definition, we'll click on that one there as well. And now we can see that that's the option that we're looking for in the sense to have appear. So depending on which way you click on the particular components, you may need to just take an extra step to click on that triangle in order to find more information. So again, if you already see the component definition appear, then it's just double clicking on that in order to have it be placed in the actual template. What are we doing? We're putting a presentation drawing together. So it's important to have all the different components specified again, right? Depending on how much experience and who's building, who's going to be using this particular plan, this is what it's about, is adding as much information as you can without filling it to the point where it's too much information. So what are we doing? We're just basically looking to make a selection, or rather just to find all the different parts in the layout. And we're only selecting one of each, if you will. Basically, we just want to see the different codes appear so that we know what that code represents. If it's an HJ2, then now we understand that that's an HJ2 connector. An HJ4, let's go find the HJ4. So there is multiple quantities, right? So we're just looking to put one in order for the individuals to recognize, in this case, what is a HJ4 in the example there. Maybe right here for the track, the roller track mounts, again, we want to click on that one there and look for the R40MS. and then just continue down the list until you have all the valuable information that you want to be able to relate. This is a presentation drawing, so at the beginning it's usually the first point of contact for everybody to sit down together and together visually see what the structure really is all about. So again, the more information we have, the better off for everybody. And then again, for the next step. So put all the information you need there as far as component definitions in order for anybody to be able to read it. Essentially, this could also be used to put it all together. So again, that information will be valuable throughout the journey from beginning to end. In this case here, I made the drop and I added the extra information and I put R40RT. Again, I used the triangle to open up more options and find the one that I was looking for. So this is page one in all its glory, essentially, right? We have an isometric view with all of that information available. Page two is going to be dimensioning. So this is more about all the different dimensions that the individuals are demanding or are needing for this particular structure. So now is a good moment to go ahead and begin to use the dimension tool, which is right next to the label tool, to be able to do so. And the dimension tool, well, first of all, right here with this page here, we can see that sometimes the drawings, depending on the size of your drawing, of your structure, you may need to move, basically organize a little bit better the spacing. So again, nothing is written in stone. You can click on the different selections, right? We can see here I'm highlighting the three all at once. And in this case, what I want to do is essentially head over to the default trays on the right side of the screen to be able to look for the particular default tray that has the information I need. So in this case is the Sketchup model. So again, if I click on the different drawings here, the three different views, if you will, then we can see Sketchup model. There's information appearing. We don't spend too much time here other than maybe playing around with the scale in order to resize it, just to be able to, again, we want to be able to fill in dimensions. And we want to be able to have the space available. So prior to beginning to do all your dimensions, you want to essentially just have the right size for the space depending on the size of your structure, so that you don't have to do this later, which is going to create a couple little issues and essentially extend the time it takes. So from the beginning, resize them, and then from there with the dimension tool, once we click on the dimension tool, again, everything is about the default trays on the right side of the screen. Here we're working in fractional with the precision at 1/16 of an inch plus or minus. So that's really the standard for us. Page two, again, is overall general dimensions. So we're looking for dimensions that make sense for everybody, for the space that we're going to be placing the structure at. So again, height wise, I want to go ahead and use that dimension tool. We're looking for reference points. So once you click on the dimension tool, you can zoom in and begin to find a dimension, rather a reference point or an endpoint appear. So in this case here, we can see that if I zoom into the exterior there, I see a green endpoint. I click once to drag out. At the same time, I can zoom in, zoom out, right? I'm able to manipulate the mouse, and then I just drag that dimension out, and I match it by lining myself up with the dimension I made in the beginning on the bottom section, on the bottom view there. So from there, same thing, we're looking for endpoints, and we're making the first click, we're dragging out to make that second click, and then we can see the dimension separate from the structure, so we can just drag it out and position it where we need to. In this example here, what we did in the beginning, remember, we moved that first view a little bit down, and then we scaled all of them together so that we have the space available to fill in the rest of the information we need. So looking at this on the right side view, again, we're basically trying to figure out what information is relevant, what information is important to the individual, the operator, or the process that we're using this particular structure for. So Right side view, again, I'm looking at the dimensions of that first top portion. I want to see how much there is from that first top portion to the second level, and then from the second level to the third level. I want to see how much difference it is there. So we can see there 39 3/4, 11/16, and 12 inches there. So, and then why not go ahead and just do a end-to-end exterior to exterior dimension there, just to put it all together, just so that it all makes sense and we can see what all those different dimensions mean once they're added up together. So this here, again, very simple, right? We're using the dimension tool. We can get a little bit more custom with each tool depending on what we're doing. On the default tray, we were able to get more, get it more customized. In this case here, what I'm doing is just clicking on that 12-inch measurement to be able to have that box, rectangular box appear, so that I can essentially just move it up a little bit just so I can see those arrows appear, just to keep everything in line so we can see the 3 dimensions with the 3 different arrows there. So again, the default tray is where you're able to manipulate and change information as well. We're just basically going throughout the different views, looking for, again, the information that we need. In this case now, I'm looking for heights. I look for the first level there. I look for the second level there. If I drag it over, I can see that it makes sense, right? This is the same information on the right side. I just want to have it be seen from the front view. So I just drag it over just to show you that we can line it up and it makes sense. Sometimes, again, if you're just referencing, sometimes you want to just drag it over just to make sure that it is the right dimension that you're looking for. So in this case here, I'm just trying to see if it makes sense. Yes, that's the dimension. You can see it on the right side. It's just that I want to have it be seen from the front view. So again, when we're dimensioning, we're trying to think about what is important. So for me, this right now is a flow rack that I'm looking for the different sections. So on that right side view, we have the side view there, and I want to now go ahead and add heights to the back portion of that structure. So I can see that the drop off, or where that box, where that roller track ends, is at 6.5. And then I'll go ahead and continue to, again, we're clicking once when we find that first reference point. We're using the mouse to drag into the direction we want to find the next one. Second reference point, I click and I drag out. In this case here, I'm beginning to see that I'm running out of space. So I'm going to go ahead and make a selection of everything in this particular view. And then I'll add the shift on the keyboard just to make sure that I added the view, the scene as well, that particular right side view. So there, I'm just basically moving all this over a little bit slightly to the left. I can click on the different dimensions, and we can see that if an arrow appears, I can go ahead and also move it a little bit more as well. So we're doing this here because, again, I ran out of space and I wanted to add that last height to be able to make sure that it's all the information I need in this particular drawing. So there we go. So we have front heights, we have side heights, and then we also have the side view as well there. And then lastly here, let's think about maybe adding, here we can see different information. Again, interior dimension is something that is very common. So that's something that we're gonna go ahead and show you today as well, right? We're gonna be able to, in this case, use the example, the space, the interior dimension between the roller tracks. So that's what we're doing, right? We're just, again, same thing. We've been using two tools essentially, the label maker and the dimensioning tool. That's really the two primary tools that we're using. Since the layout has already been created, it's just basically adding the information you need to. So there's not too much customizing or having to figure things out. It's pretty straightforward. So again, the dimensioning, the interior dimensions here, 9 3/8. I want to go ahead and make a selection of all these, and I want to go ahead and change essentially the color of the stroke to red, so that we can see the difference between the overall dimensions, if you will, and then interior dimensions, which can be For, again, example here for the roller tracks, we want to be able to specify and clearly see the difference. So in the default trays on the right side of the screen, this is where we're always going to be able to change this information. In this case, we're looking for the shape, style, and the color. So it's a combination of the two different default trays. In the colors, we're able to use the wheel to find the color, or we can use the image or the list, whichever way is easier for you. For me, it's just a matter of using the wheel and finding the red. And then we can see that the stroke on the second, on the shape style, the default tray on the bottom, right below the colors, we can see that that one had also changed to red. So that's really what we're trying to do, is change the stroke color by selecting or clicking on the stroke on the default tray, and then being able to use the colors to change to the color that we're looking for. So again, this is a great way to specify interior dimensions and to separate them from maybe the overall heights and the overall dimensions. So the more information and the clearer it is, the better off for this project to get to the next step. So with that right there, we can see we have pretty much the basic information that we need. Again, presentation drawing is all about getting to the next step. Will there be a version 2? Will there need to be modifications, adjustments? That's what we're trying to figure out. So this is the presentation drawing. We want to be able to now save or make a PDF. So we're going to go ahead and create a PDF, and again, save it in with the rest of the information, so that whenever anything gets updated, all of the information will also need to get updated as well. All right, so if you made a modification on your structure and you added some parts, you need to essentially recreate that wireframe in your original structure and then update all of the information in this particular layout so that it makes sense to the updated version. But if this is presentation 1, version 1, this is what it really should look like from the beginning. Okay, so now we see the PDF. We have all of the information, the basic information. Again, the extension has done the hard work, which is creating this template. All you need to do is really fill in the information that you were going to need in order to essentially create the PDF, which then is going to be getting to step 2, which is basically having a look at it and figuring out whether or not you need to modify it, or if you're able to go ahead and build it. So this is what your file should look like, right? We have a 3D model, we have the bill of materials, we have the export to layout file, and then the last one is that PDF file that we've created. So that is the basic understanding, or the basic way to use the extension tool export to layout.
All right, guys, so I hope you guys enjoyed that presentation. Again, it's really taking the time to just spend to just use the layout. Again, the template is already there. It's just really going to help you guys to take the time to just click on the different tools to be able to essentially get a little bit more experience with the layout. I wanted to show you here. There was a question earlier regarding the different dimensions that we're using with the layout here. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen to show you real quickly what that might look like. Again, here we've opened up the actual SKP model. So now if I needed to, for example, we're just going to do real quickly here, example here, we're just going to go ahead and drop this. So for whatever reason, we decided we're going to drop this down 3 inches. So that's what we did there. As we can see here, we just going to go ahead and just regenerate this real quick just to make sure that all that information is updated and it's making sense, right? Because ideally, we want to make sure we hide everything. We want to make sure that any modification we did, we see it in the wireframe form. So very important that we do that. We generated this. We're going to recreate that bill of material. And we're just going to replace the existing ones that we already did. So we modify the structure, we regenerated the structure, and now we added the new bill of materials. So in this case now, if I went back to the layout in the layout portion here. Now it's a matter of heading to the different pages. In this case here, in this page, let me head back to the, let me go ahead and head to the first page there. So if I click on the actual model right now, I can go ahead and right click. And by right clicking, we can see that there's an option here, which is going to be to update model reference. So that's really the most basic way that we're going to be updating a model once we've modified it. So if I go ahead and update here, I'll click on that. And then the model here will basically change that top view or that top level that we had worked on there. Also, same thing with the bill of material. We want to go ahead and update the table reference. Although we didn't make too many changes in the bill of material or in the parts, we just really want to make sure we update all of this information again, because we want to make sure that it's all the same information. We don't want to make any unnecessary. We don't want to make any mistakes by basically printing out a wrong bill of material to a different SKP model, and then we end up with not enough pipes or too many pipes cut. So that's why we want to make sure we're thorough and we're updating it constantly and making sure we're updating it as we're fixing anything that we need to. Okay, so we've updated those two. And then from there, we can go ahead and look at the section here. We'll go ahead and right click and we'll go update model reference. And we'll see here in a second that now has been updated as well in that section there. If I needed to drop dimensions as well, I could also maybe add another dimension, or for whatever reason I needed to change this. Again, it's just clicking that arrow and following it to the new reference point, if you will. So right there, I just basically changed the dimension from the 1 to the top one here, and look for that dimension point, and we can see here that those dimensions are changing on the as we begin to move this up and down. So it's just a matter of selecting the dimension you want and then using highlighting it to make sure you see these arrows, and these arrows are the ones that are going to be the ones that you can go ahead and use to dimension into the different ones there. 1 second here, let me go ahead and change my screen. I think I might have made a, let me go ahead and change something here real quick. Sorry about that. There we go. So this is the, sorry about that real quick. Let me go ahead and rephrase what I just said. Basically, we went from the model SKP to now going back to the layout. I've recreated that bill of material, so I want to go ahead and select that bill of material, the old one, and I want to go ahead and update the table reference. So I'm going to go ahead and right click once I've selected it, and then click on the update table reference, because I want to make sure that I've updated that information. Also, same thing with the SKP model that we have. We can go ahead and right click once we've select to update model reference. So that's really going to be the way to switch and look at the information that we've changed, and then we can go ahead and update it. Well, once we save this information as well, right? We want to make sure that we always save this information so that we can go ahead and, again, so when we click here, we'll update that model reference and we'll see that change happening in the SKP model. And then there we go. So now we see that change in the update. And then if we went over to page 2, we can also see that now that was it, right? That was the old dimension. So we just want to go ahead and relink it and reconnect it back to that new height that we want to go ahead and look at. So that's really the way that we're going about the particular way. So if you have any other questions, now is a great time. Also, at the same time, again, this is more if you're already familiarized with working with the SketchUp. So take the time, spend some time to be able to work up a list of questions, if you will, a couple issues that you may be having with the layout. And then from there, I recommend booking a web session as soon as you can, just so you keep the information fresh. And then you can just take it to the next level. But the presentation drawing is just the best way for everybody to understand really what everybody's thinking or what's going to happen with that particular structure and what needs to be modified, if anything. So take advantage of it. Again, it's pretty much click on the tool, have it appear, and just input the information that you want. In the beginning, maybe work with a simpler structure, maybe just a a very simple shelving rack, just so you get used to, just so you get familiarized with the tools, so that when you end up dealing with a more complex structure, a flow rack, 2 lanes, 1 return type of thing, you already have you've already familiarized yourself with the way the layout works and the different tools that you're going to be using, so that at that point you're really focused on putting the information that you need with that particular rack or flow rack or whatever it is. But start with a simpler structure and then go ahead and use the or work your way towards more complex structures. My first time, let's see here, we got a question. My first time to this plugin, can I get a session to see the cut list generated? The BOMM is good for customers, but I need a viewpoint for cut list and assembly drawings. Yes, absolutely. Cut lists are generated as well. Real quickly here, again, today we're really just wanting to focus more on a presentation drawing. Essentially, a cut list does make sense for what would be the next step to the presentation drawing, which would be the assembly drawing. Real quickly though, very simple here. If we add another page, I'm going to add another page to the layout here. So it's just a blank screen. But if I went back to the CSVs or the BOMs, and in this case here, I want to go ahead and drag and drop the BOM cut list CSV full. So this is the one that I'm just going to go ahead and drag and drop into that new page I've added. And here we can see right away all the different dimensions for all the different tubes that are making part of that structure. So we see list number 1 here, pipe 96BL, that's the code, 60 3/8 of an inch. We have quantity of 2. Pipe number 2, 55 inches, quantity 2, etc., etc. So those are the cut lists that you're going to be using in the when it comes time to making the assembly drawing. So yes, it's just a matter of dragging and dropping them in from the different BOM CSVs that you have. Let's see here, let's share the dimension styles option in the default tray. So again, dimension styles, this one here, it's very commonly used. For me, the shape style and the dimension style are going to be the 2 main ones that we're using all the time. So dimension style, if I head back to the drawing, let's just zoom in real quick. So for example, I've selected, the second I select an SKP view, if you will, the top view here in this case, we can see that the options begin to highlight as well here. So if I click on the dimension tool, I've opened up that dimension style tool default tray, and we can see now we have many different options available. Again, we really tend to work at Flexpipe in fractional form with 1/16, but if you were working in a different way with decimal form or engineering, whichever the way you want to go, this is where you're going to go ahead and make that difference. But for us, again, fractional 1/16 is the tolerance that we tend to work with. So that's really the way that we're going to be using the layout. And then the dimension style, and then the shape style here. Again, I mentioned the stroke is something that we tend to use a lot. So this is where we click on the stroke depending on the different informations that we have, like the one that we did here in red. We've changed the color by selecting the stroke. Like anything else in SketchUp or in layout, we need to first use the cursor selection tool to be able to highlight what it is that we want to go ahead and work on. So just keep an eye out on that. The dimensions is here. We can go ahead and switch the stroke again, and then we're playing with the different with the wheel in order to change the different colors depending on what you're looking for, or an image list or the list by name. So again, I like to work with the wheel. So again, it's just a matter of spending time and using the tools to be able to really understand how to manage the layout, so that when it comes time to doing a complex structure, you're not dealing with all these little details, but you've already got those cleared. So Again, emphasis on booking a web session when you can in order to be able to continue your to basically continue further learning the extension here. So we're going to go ahead and put the link for the web sessions so you can go ahead and check out the calendar there. So we'll go ahead and do that now. Let's see here. We have on selecting specific pipe and layout, will it recognize by itself its identity? Let's 1 second. Let me rephrase. On selecting specific pipe and layout, will it recognize by itself its identity, like 1, 2, 3, 4, the same as the identity of pipe mentioned on the pipe cut list generated? Okay, yes. So in order to be able to label the pipes, we're going to have to be using the label tool in order to go ahead and again select a particular pipe. In this case, I'll just show you the example here. In order to find the cut list, I believe that's the question. So if I wanted to find the dimension of this particular pipe, I'm looking for the visual cue, which is that red square to appear. Once I have that red square appear, I can click once, I can drag out. Once I drag out, it's about looking for the information that we mentioned through the triangle. So if I open up that triangle, I now will begin to see different information, and I'm looking for the edge. Once I click on the edge, the length of the tube is going to appear. I now can go ahead and double click to make sure it appears. But from this point here, you're gonna we tend to reference that dimension, and we'll manually change it to the particular pipe number if that's the case. So if this was pipe number 3, I would change the 9 1/4. I would go ahead and double click here to be able to essentially change that 9 1/4 and input pipe number 3 example, if that was the pipe number for this particular section here. So that's the way that we can go ahead and change, or rather add, the different dimensions of the pipes, using the label tool, and then again making sure that when we click on a particular pipe that we are able to see the once we click on the label maker, that we can see that red square appear. So that's really the one that's going to give us the edge, and that edge is the length of that pipe that we're looking for. From there, you can double click and change it to the particular pipe number. Yeah, you can change decimal, inches to metric. It all changes, exactly, Peter. If you want, it's just about clicking on the dimension tool and starting off and switching all those different ones there. Again, it's just a matter of the precision that you're looking for. Generally speaking, with the structures that we're making in fractional form, and 1/16 plus or minus of tolerance it's more than enough, unless you're really having to focus on a particular area of a structure where you really need to be more precise. But more or less, we're able to really build with the infraction and 1/16. Okay, sounds good. So do we have any other questions? If not, I'll go ahead and before wrapping it up, again, I just want to make sure that we book a session, right? Again, this is going to be the best way for everybody to catch up and to learn a little bit more individually. One-on-one web sessions are going to be the best thing. This is just a very generalized webinar for the layout, but now that you can see what you can do with it, again, there's many more things that we can use the layout for. And again, the assembly drawings would be the next one to tackle. But before getting to an assembly drawing, it's really important that you know how to properly make a presentation drawing. All right, guys. So for today, that's the webinar. May the 4th be with you for all you Star Wars, all the Star Wars fans. And that's it. Book the web session. If you have any questions regarding the webinar, or if there's more information that you would need, don't be shy. You know where we are. Contact us. We're happy to help with anything. So, and if you find something cool, a new tool or a new way to use the layout, I would love to see it. I'm in the business of learning myself. So if there's something cool that I don't know and you want to show me, I'm down for it. All right. So be good, be safe, and I'll say it again. May the 4th be with you. Take care, and I'll see you guys next time.